Vénganse, vénganse, vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy, hoy, hoy.
Good evening, friends. I'm Natalie.
I'm Rickie Lee.
And we're on this frequency.
We are on this frequency.
Yes! We're talking about lying this week. Why you always
Lying. That song has been in my head
all week.
All week since we've been planning this episode, like straight up.
Yeah, no, same. And then the little meme with the guy with the leg up on the rock.
I sent it to you.
Yes.
I sent it to you so you could see it.
It just all goes together.
It does go together.
We all lie all the time, daily.
Yes.
And you know who gets lied to the most?
No. Oh, yes. Yes, I was thinking about this. The people at the registers.
Yes.
Like, and I always imagine, well, not imagine because I experience it all the time. There was one time I was really hungover and I pulled up to a Starbucks and the lady's like, good morning. You know how they're all just excited to be there. How are you?
How are you today?
I'm hungover, ma'am, and I don't feel well. And I had a really bad night and I'm just straight up like honest.
Right.
She hooked me up with a really good drink. I don't remember. It was some kind of tea, but she was just so pleasant. And then we ended up, when I went to go pay for it, talking. And so I learned, you know what? I'm going to just try being honest.
Yeah.
And just telling people I'm actually having a really shitbag day. Like things are not okay.
That's funny because we're so used to that. It's so just generic. Hey, how are you today? I'm fine.
We're zombies.
Yeah.
It's just zombie status.
Throughout.
That's what it is.
But I couldn't imagine being the clerk or the person at the register having someone like you, for example, that's saying like, I'm hungover. And I wouldn't know how to respond because
you are in a zombie mode and you're not really actually thinking. At that point, you're just conditioned and it's customer service. It's just like, how are you? Did I get this person in and out?
Yeah,
you know?
No. Well,
and that's where the real element of customer service disappears.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're really lying to ourselves even at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
To the other people and to us. We're doing us a disservice.
Well, I mean, but that's how we were raised. Like, that's how it goes.
And then people wonder why we don't give them a 10 out of 10 when they say, can you please take my survey for your customer service experience?
True.
It sucked.
True.
You didn't want to hear my life story.
So that's, I want to say that that's kind of a very mild version of lying.
Yeah.
You know, just little white lies that we do every day, all the time, you know, like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and whatnot. But what inspired this episode was a very interesting experience that I recently found out about.
Yeah.
Jody, who's a wonderful follower of ours, sends me this picture and she says, hey, is this your ex-husband? So I was married to someone, my second marriage, and this person was incarcerated for 22 years.
Yeah.
We met while he was in prison. He became a great friend. And so he was released 3 years ago.
Okay.
Has had a wonderful life, successful, went back to school, got a job, has a wonderful place to live. Like his life was just put together. Like everything that he was working towards.
He was thriving.
Oh. Okay. So I was really happy for him. And he was recently engaged. He met a wonderful woman. They hit it off really well. I think they've been together for like 8 months.
Okay. Recent.
Yeah. So Jody sends me this picture and it says something like, need help. It was like it was like a GoFundMe, and it says that he was in a terrible car accident. I'm sorry, motorcycle accident.
Oh no!
Okay, on the 101 freeway, January 1st, and he's in critical condition, on a ventilator, in a coma. Like he's fighting for his life, and the flyers. It's not a flyer, but it's like a post, you know, that's talking about
Right. What's happening.
The fiance's family is looking for support. And I'm like, this is him. I just talked to him on the 29th of December.
Oh, shit.
And I told him, because he's a big fan of motorcycles, and I always told him, I don't know, they're just not safe. I always had just kind of a bad feeling about motorcycles and him on a motorcycle.
Okay.
So he got into a very bad accident.
Oh my
fighting
gosh.
for his life, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I was thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. I reached out to his family, his niece, who I was very close with, and I told her, I sent her the flyer. I said, did you know this happened? She said, no, had no clue.
Yeah.
And so she then shares it with the rest of his family, right? And so now the family reaches out to this fiance. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the fiance had no idea,
of course,
that he had family.
Oh my god!
Now both of it,
it's like a novela.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. So she finds out that he has family, and then she called his work to tell his work, hey, he got into this terrible car accident, and he worked for a foundation that helped inmates that were coming out restore their lives, get themselves together, and situate them. So it made sense that he worked there, because it kind of connected him with the program, so to speak. So
yeah,
she calls and tells them, and then they tell her, "Oh no, like that's terrible. God, considering he just got out." And she says, "What?"
Oh my goodness, in shock, no idea.
She had no clue that he had just gotten out of prison. Oh. So now she's dealing with
mourning
her fiance who's fighting for his life.
Right.
And she just finds out that he has family and that he just got out of prison and was in there for 22 years.
Listen, I'm not involved whatsoever, and I'm stressed. I don't even know how to process everything you just said.
I didn't know how to. I'm not involved in any of that, and I was like, "Oh God, how do you even?" And you know what? I almost wanted to pick up the phone and tell her, like, it's okay. You know? Because in my mind, I was thinking, why would he not tell her this?
Yeah.
You asked for her hand in marriage.
Yeah.
Why would you not? That's kind of a big one,
Jesus, just a little bit, right?
Right, but then when I really thought about it, it just kind of really made me think, well, why do people lie? Why do people withhold very important information?
Yeah.
Why do people omit details about their said lives that could potentially affect this new life that they're trying to have?
Right.
So in my head, I'm justifying why he withheld that,
Yeah. Like, I don't know, listening to that immediately in my head, I think just about lying in general, we all want so badly to be loved and accepted.
Right.
That lying is a better idea than telling the truth, because that's such a big risk, So, I mean, who knows what he was actually thinking, right? And maybe he'll live to tell the story. But it's just, you go through something so heavy like that. How do you tell someone, like, hey, by the way, I was in prison, and then you get judged, and then you don't know how this person that you're getting feelings for is going to react.
You could lose them because they could be like, sorry, I don't deal with that. I'm out.
Yeah.
I remember when we were together, he lied to me about college, about going to a university and something. And I remember asking him, like, you're in like, it does not get worse. I met you here. I know what you've done. I know why you're here.
Yeah.
You do not have to lie.
Yeah.
Why are you lying about something that is pointless? But that's also where I started to understand the strong desire and the pull.
Right.
To just, like, look, I did this, or I could have done this, or I finished this, and I'm just not. I get it. Like you said, it goes back to acceptance, or.
Yeah.
And also sometimes,
why do you feel worthy? That sounds like worthiness.
It does have, have a lot to do with worthiness as well. I think.
Well, one side of it, right? Because I feel like lying is just such a broad. It can be so many things.
Yeah.
Right.
It is so many things. There's so many shades of lying.
Yeah.
And levels, but
yeah.
Some aspects of lying are acceptable.
Right.
Some are not. And so that's my question, right? What is an acceptable lie? what is an acceptable omission?
Like when we like let's say I'm gonna throw you a surprise birthday party, so I'm gonna lie to you and tell you like we're gonna go to the other side of the town, to pick up, I don't know, laundry, and then in reality we're gonna go to your 40th birthday party or whatever the case may be, right? That's a like acceptable lie.
So it's interesting you mentioned that because when I was expecting my son in my first marriage, I planned a photo shoot with my friend that I went to high school, like of me being pregnant, like fully clothed. It wasn't nothing inappropriate, right? But I wanted to document the moment and give it to him for Father's Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on AOL instant message.
I'm glad you had AOL. So did I. I still have the email
with
too.
my friend, right? And I'm like, hey, when can we meet? The photo shoot, this, that, and the other, da 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 da.
Yeah.
So we're talking, and he finds this, right? So the day that I go and I pick up the pictures, he confronts me. What are you doing?
Oh.
Are you seeing somebody else? You're gonna go on a photo shoot? Really? I'm like full blown pregnant, and you think I'm going to just take photos somewhere? I learned he didn't like surprises. Did not appreciate.
Yeah.
Not withholding information, even if it was something for his benefit. How the hell was I supposed to know? I didn't know. Right? Wasn't being honest about something, but it was for a good cause. So, acceptable?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. On one end. But and then you see we end up having these grudges and we don't know how to react. And I believe that we carry ourselves so much differently as a result of lies that were told to us, and we become kind of jaded in a sense.
Explain.
Kind of like how pre-production, right? You were asking what lie we've told that has greatly impacted
your lives,
right? But in the reverse, I was thinking like, what lie was I told that changed my life? Sorry, and I think I'm going off on a tangent now. I'm sorry.
No.
Postpartum. Anyways, next.
No, because
you know where I'm trying to go?
Yeah, no, yes, and they're two separate things. So I sent Ray and I sent Natalie a text message, and I said, hey, prior to the podcast, think about a lie that you told that affected your...
Yeah, just the path that you went on,
The path
right?
that you went on, right?
Yeah, your life.
Right. So, because I have one in particular that I've held on to for a really long time that I thought, damn, like my life really would have turned out. And it's not to say that I don't like where my life ended up now, but it would have been very different, right? So I thought, well, everyone has to have that moment where they made a decision to not do something or to do something or to lie about something that completely changed the trajectory of their lives.
Yeah.
So do you have one?
Not in particular. I was thinking about it too hard. And then...
Overthinking?
Yeah.
Last episode.
Yes. So what was one that you were holding on to, if you want to share? Or
It's probably the only one that I have that I can distinctly remember. I was I went to Vina Dinks Middle School. And no, I didn't. Where did I go? Vina Dinks.
You just lied about that.
I just lied about that. Okay, so I was going there, right? And I wanted to go to Chafee High School so bad. That's where I wanted to go to school. We would go in elementary school and junior high, and we would see all the performances at the auditorium that they would have, and it was historic, and I loved it. And all I could think about was, I want to perform on that stage one day.
Okay.
Right? So I get in trouble in 8th grade, and it's the story of Hex coming over to my house and doing a little party here in the studio where we're at now.
Okay.
That my parents were like, you're out of hand.
Right.
Like, your life's out of control. You're going to Catholic school. And I was like, no.
Right.
I don't want to go to Catholic school. So they sent me to St. Lucy's Priory High School in Glendora, I think it is.
Oh, wow.
Glendora.
You went far.
Girl, I had to take the bus.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I hated it. And most of the girls that go to private schools, like, they've all been in school together, like, their whole lives. They all know each other.
So the cliques are already there.
Exactly. So it was me and some girl from Pomona just hung out, and we were kind of the outsiders, right? I tried out for the basketball team. I'm not athletic, okay? Didn't work out. I ended up managing the team, right?
Oh, okay.
Tried for softball too. Didn't work out because they're all freaking professionals, right?
Yeah.
So
and they have time, and they've had time.
my parents saw that I was frustrated. And so then my dad was like, all right, well, if you try out for one more thing and it doesn't work out, then we'll send you back to Chafee.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. So I try out for the newspaper.
Okay.
You had to write this big old essay and da 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 da. I write it and I get in.
Okay.
And I get accepted.
Okay.
And I'm excited. I'm like, yeah. So it felt good, right? I was accepted. I got in at a good level. I'm going to be a writer.
Yeah.
This is cool because it was hard to get into the paper. But then I'm like, if I go back and tell my parents, I'm not going to be able to go to Chafee. This is my shot.
Yeah.
So I come back home and I tell my parents I didn't make the paper.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm lucky that they didn't ask me
Yeah.
for like a paper or a note or anything like that. So my dad was like, all right, cool.
Really?
You're out. Yes. So the next year, sophomore year, I'm back at Chafee.
Nice.
Well, not back at Chafee, but I started at Chafee.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If I would have stayed at St. Lucy's,
Yeah.
because they guarantee that every person will graduate and go to college no matter what. Like, it was a big deal.
Yeah, to go to that school.
To go to that school and go to a good college. And that's what, my life would have turned out very, very different had I not told that lie, had I not come back and told my parents that I did not get accepted to that. Now, here's the thing. I do end up at Chafee, and I do everything I wanted to do there. I performed on that stage. I wrote for the paper, too. I was in yearbook. I did homecoming.
Oh, okay.
I did all of those things.
Yeah, yeah. So it worked out.
I didn't go to college after that.
So it worked out.
To my point, like, my life went in a totally, and that's one thing that I ponder often. Like, damn, if I would have just been honest, and if I would have just stayed there,
right? What would my life have been?
And again, it's not to say that I'm not happy with what I've done with my life.
Yeah.
But it would have been very, very different.
Yeah. Well, interesting when I was preparing for this episode, you know how our phone likes to listen to us and all of that wonderful stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Or I don't know, maybe it was just coincidence, but I follow this Montessori toy company. They're called Love Every. And every now and again, they'll post facts about developing babies and toddlers and whatnot. And so they posted about toddlers and lying. And
lying toddlers?
Yes, and they stated the fact that lying is a sign of cognitive growth, but your child may not always intend to deceive you when they say something that's untrue. For toddlers, the line between reality and fantasy is blurred. So it can be make-believe or imaginary. It starts as early as 2, and it's a sign that they're becoming aware of other people's feelings. So, for example, 2 reasons why they misrepresent the truth could be that alternate versions of events feel real to them. So they may tell a story where that they hope will happen, or if they say, for example, they knocked over some toys, they'll say, "Oh, the monster did it."
Got it.
So that they won't get in trouble, or because they're already signaling or they're already noticing that you didn't like that
happened.
Yes.
So if I just do this, then
so it's almost like a coping thing, or like a way to like, oh shit, I don't know what's gonna happen,
and you don't want to disappoint what you already know is gonna happen because it already happened.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
Right, it's very interesting, and so they've been confronted and they realize that something isn't right. So they're worried about the consequences. And when they mentioned that part about their worry, it's screaming that everyone we just want to be loved. We just so badly want the approval, and we're trying so hard not to fuck up. And it starts at 2 years old.
So I don't think it ever stops either.
I guess we're just conditioned. It's a part of growth.
It is. Do you think that there's a way to tell the truth without hurting someone?
No, I don't think so, because we are different. We grew up differently. We have different environments that we grew up in. The way that we experience and see the world is completely different. So I think it's inevitable to tell the truth to someone without hurting their feelings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. But my little reliable book.
All right, let's see it.
So he says, when we see someone suffer because of something we have said, we might say, well, I was only telling the truth. It may have been the truth, but it may also have been unskilled and hurtful. Loving speech requires telling the truth in such a way that it benefits others, the world, and ourselves. When we tell the truth, we do so with compassion. We speak in such a way that the hearer can accept what we're saying, right? So I might not want to tell you something that's going to hurt you, right? Because I know that on the forefront of what I'm going to tell you, it's going to be painful and you're going to hurt and it's going to bother you. But I know that at the root of it, it's actually going to be good for you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So if we could just get past that uncomfortable part, right?
Right.
Then it works out. So I'll give you an example. I was seeing someone, right? And in the dating process, you get to know each other.
Right.
And I realized early on, oh man, this person has stronger feelings for me than I have for them.
Okay,
And I don't see myself long term with this person. I like this person. I'm having a great time with this person. But shit, right?
Yeah.
And I was mortified to like have a straight up conversation with them and say like, you know what? You're an amazing person. You're cool, but it's just we're not compatible the way you want to be compatible.
Right.
And I knew that was going to hurt, but if I didn't do it in that moment, this was going to be I don't want to carry this.
Right.
Which I have carried things like this before, and I'm not trying to carry that weight anymore, you know?
Right.
So it hurt me telling this person that too, because they didn't deserve that, but then too, I deserve to be happy as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Initially, the pain exists. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's why this guy's saying be tactful. Be
in the way
skillful
that you
in the way
deliver.
that you deliver it. Right? Because you can say like, hey, I know this is going to hurt you. And I'm hurting that it's going to hurt you. But bear with me because it's just, it's temporary. But the root, you'll thank me later for doing this now instead of that takes courage.
Yeah. I could agree that would probably save a lot of, at least in my experience, when I'm thinking about things that have been said to me or not said to me. If someone would have just prepared me, like, hey, this is going to suck, but these are the reasons why.
Yeah, but how do you prepare someone for that? Because I'm just learning that right now.
Right.
Like, as an adult, I'm just
learning. How
learning.
do you teach someone?
Right.
That's not taught.
No,
well, I mean,
not.
Here we have it, right? But no one's passing around all these little books, right? Hey, this is how you can...
And sometimes I think that it takes, like, getting really hurt to then tell yourself, well, let me figure this out here. Why did this happen? And then you go through the whole self-help, like, let me read up and understand, and then you get insight to it, which is the beautiful thing about getting older.
Yeah.
That is honestly the best thing about getting older. But I also want to touch on something that in the sidebar conversations that Ray and I have, he brought up a really excellent point about the lies that we tell ourselves, right? And I want to distinguish also the difference between lying to ourselves and speaking things into existence.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But Ray, could you kind of touch on what you were?
So I think in a lot of aspects, we always end up lying to ourselves.
Right.
Even if it's to save someone else's feelings and make sure that they're okay, right? We tend to lie more to ourselves than we do to other people.
Yes.
So
agreed.
I think when we end up doing that, like Natalie was saying, like, how do we know that? Like, how do we know how to cope with stuff like that, or how do we prepare people like that?
Yeah.
I think by us lying to ourselves, that's us building that preparation to know how to bring that forward towards somebody else, because it's just like, all right, I don't want them to feel the way I felt when I had to lie to myself about a situation.
Right.
Right. I think what ends up happening, though, is like how you're saying, like speaking things into existence versus lying to yourself. Speaking things into existence isn't a lie. That's just that's a thought process, right? But a lie would be like, I'm going to tell you something, but I'm going to say it so many times to you and other people that I need to believe it. And it's not much so like speaking something into existence. It's really just putting up that wall for you to not have to deal with that accountability, you know?
Accountability is a great continuous conversation that Ray and I have also had. But
we continue to be the victims.
Hell yeah, it's easier.
Time, yeah.
Because then you don't have to blame anybody else.
Yeah.
then you're just the one hurt.
Yeah.
And that's a whole hell of a lot easier.
Ugh.
That it is.
So, what would you guys think? So obviously, because since we lie to ourselves, would you agree that 9 out of 10 times, if we're gonna lie, it's more to ourselves than it is to other people?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, is that because we don't want to face the accountability? And if that's the reason, what is accountability to yourself? Like, what do you define as accountability, and what aspect do you see accountability as?
That's a deep question.
Jesus, Ray.
But-
can you give me a minute?
Well, think about what you've lied to yourself the most about, right? Or what you've led yourself to believe.
Right.
So when I think of that, I think about like how much I've worked, and we've been constantly having this conversation, right? I think about what I've done the last 22 years of my life, right?
Yeah.
Work. And I'm telling myself,
Right.
well, it's because I have to provide for my kids. I got to provide for my family. I have to do this. I have to do this. Because I have in my head what I think I'm supposed to be doing for my family. This is what I think is best. And so I'm lying to myself,
Yeah.
convinced myself
Yeah.
that it was a healthy thing to be away from my family as much as I have been, because I'm in pursuit of a better life for them.
Right.
Only to discover
The irony.
the irony. Only to discover that, nah.
Yeah. You didn't have to do all that.
I
What are you
didn't have to
doing?
do all that. My values were completely off.
Yeah.
But also, you're in a state of survival.
Right.
You're in a
So
state
you've
of
already
just-
brainwashed your
Yes.
mindset to think that you have to be doing other things.
Yes. And then also going back to pleasing people, like, I can remember and I always tease my brother, and I always say, like, my brother's the favorite. And, he was always the calm child, the,
Lies we tell
cooperative kid. And from what I was told growing up, I was the loud, rambunctious, active, can't sit still kid. And I took that and
Right.
then created this person
Yeah.
in my head that was not good
Actually,
enough.
that. Right.
Right. That was not good enough, but in my head, this is good and this is bad. Good is being quiet, sitting still,
Yeah.
and not questioning things, and the opposite is all of me. And so then when I discover that, I then try to then please people. Okay, I realize that you don't like this about me, mom and dad. So let me try this, and let me do this, and none of it is even. So now I think, like, damn, well, who the fuck am I then? Like,
Right, because
who
I've
am
been
I?
told that I'm this rambunctious kid.
Right.
So similarly to you, and this is coming up recently for me, right? Because now I have a child, and this is on my side of the family, right? Well, why is the baby fussy? Oh, it's because Natalie's, this is what Natalie gets, because Natalie's always in a bad mood, because Natalie's stubborn, because Natalie's this, and it's always negative. And I'm like, is it negative? So does he only have the bad characteristics of me? Why is it that when he's happy, he's like Natalie? So then I'm thinking, right, like, whenever anyone in my family sees the baby and his temperament and all of that, oh my God, he's just like Natalie. When he's always smiling, he's a happy baby, right? Oh, he's like Natalie.
He's a perfect baby.
But then when you ask my mom, I know, es como la Natalie. It's just a bad kid. He's crying. Why is he crying?
Wait, so
He's
you
stubborn.
were the bad kid of your...
But I wasn't the bad kid. So I'm over here all fucked up, like how you're saying, like, so I've been told my whole life that I was a bad kid, but when I think about my upbringing and how I actually presented myself to people, I was a good child. I was shy. I was quiet. I never spoke out of line. I wasn't this kid with the boogers coming out and the silver teeth, because they have like there's a thing about those kinds of kids, right?
Right.
And so then I think, well, been lying or been lied
There's
about
nothing wrong with
how
silver
I
teeth.
am. No, yeah, sorry guys, there isn't, but it's just a meme, so it's funny.
That's pretty accurate. That's not something that hasn't been formulated as a lie. That's kind of truthful.
Wow.
So So, when you continue, like you're saying, to be told these things, it becomes the truth. And that's how I think what Rickie and Ray are saying about how things manifest themselves. Yeah, well, I've been told these things about myself. Well, now you know what? I guess I am a bad person.
Well, Natalie, have you ever answered that question to yourself in regards to understanding that besides Mike, you're the only person that baby has any type of comparison to? And I don't think they would dare try to compare what Mike was like as a kid because they didn't
know
him. So
right.
I used to get upset when people would be like, "Oh,
God,
like
thank
Samantha,
God you said that, because I thought it was just me in my head. Like, fuck, postpartum's really fucking me up.
No, because
I mean, it does too.
I used to have that mindset too. Like when my son was born, and it was my first kid, so I was just like, man, I don't know if I'm doing things right. But the same thing, like, oh, if he's mad, then he's like this, or if he's happy, he's like this. But it's just like, yo, he has two parents.
Right.
What I mean?
Who else is he gonna be like?
But at the end of the day, we got to like put the perspective down as,
excuse me,
my family will always say that my children are like me because
right.
they have a lifetime of knowing
references,
me.
Right.
And your family would be doing the same thing. They've known Mike how long?
Yeah, right. For 1%, like the 6 years or whatever it
He
is.
wasn't even a child, so
right.
he was already a grown man. So they don't have a reference to that.
Yeah.
To say, oh, well, you're the only reference. They're not gonna say that he's like your sister because your sister.
Right. No, nada que ver.
Yeah, right. Like that's not.
Yeah, and that's where it seriously takes so much of me to realize, like, okay, those comments are not they're not meant to be hurtful, or they're not meant to be, taking a jab at me. But it really gets to you sometimes, like, oh fuck, like, why? If he's crying, he's a child. Of course he's gonna cry, So it's wild. I think it's really wild out there. You get caught up in your head.
So my next question is, what do you do with pathological liars? Like people who are just constantly lying.
Dismiss them. Bye. We're not friends no more.
You know what?
That was easy. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that was easy. Sometimes, depending on the person, right? I'll just carry on with it.
Oh, you go along with it.
I'll go along with it because, like, if you know that they're lying,
right?
It's like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna go along with it. We're gonna roll with it.
I've done that.
And at some point, your truth is gonna come out, and I'm just gonna look at you like,
I knew all along.
Yeah. So you said what again?
Yeah.
We had how many months of this story?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta let them, because they'll continue to do it. If you dismiss them, they may not do it to you again now, or they may not do it. But at some point, they'll come up with another reason to do it. I remember listening to Big Boy this week, right? And he asked a question for the callers to call in and ask, what was like the craziest lie that you had encountered, right? So some lady called in, and she pretty much said that, I guess this time frame wise, so that there's context, that this took place like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So 10 years ago, someone called into work to tell work that they can't go into work because they ran over their car keys and now their tire is flat.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? So when we hear that, we're like, well, how the hell do you run over your car keys? And it was funny when he said that, because when he said that, everybody's like, well, it's push to start. It's push to start. But it's like, no, that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
We didn't have push to start. So how are you going to run over car keys that should be in the ignition?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, this person like really didn't think to fabricate a better situation.
Yeah.
Just to go out.
That's bad liars.
And not be at work.
Bad liars.
But I also want to add the bad listeners. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
That's a good point.
We'll take care of it, all right?
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, so I'm reading this book, All About Love by Bell Hooks, which a good friend of mine gave me a while ago, and I never took the time to actually read it, so I gave it back to her. But and you can't, it's not inaudible.
Yeah.
But there's a passage in here that says, and I'm going to read it word for word because then I'll pose the question to you guys, right? That says, widespread cultural acceptance of lying is a primary reason many of us will not know love. It is impossible to nurture one's own or another's own spiritual growth when the core of one's being and identity is shrouded in secrecy and lies. Trusting that another person always intends good, having a core foundation of loving practice cannot exist within the context of deception. So it goes back to, which we've had conversations about this too. You're never going to know everything about the person that you're with, your partner.
Yeah.
You're never going to know everything.
All of them.
Right. And if you decide you're going to spend your life with someone, right, is it fair to say that you have to expect being lied to? Do you really expect to never be lied to?
Well, here's the thing, though. Is it a lie if they never told you?
That's omitting.
That's a form of lying, I guess. But we always end up...
That's withholding.
We always compartmentalize things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to put that... We got to put omitting in its own compartment of lying.
It's a
And then
different department.
And then we got to... But then we got to break it down like, okay, well, this is where he's at, right?
Okay.
Omitting is this type of lying. And how severe is that lie? How much do we take from that lie? Does it affect us?
So we are saying that we would accept lies, right? But what categorizes the value of the lie is how it impacts your relationship.
Because I'll be honest with you, and Samantha knows this too, and she'll tell me all the time, I don't need to know what you did in the past.
Okay. Fair.
She oftentimes always wondered, like, why does this man know someone everywhere we go?
Right.
Like, after a while, you start putting two and two together, and you realize, like, okay, there's something up. Then there's a reason why he knows a lot of people, and places are nowhere near where we are
Right.
from, right? So, like I've told her, there's a lot of things that I've done in my past, and we've been together a long time, but there's a lot of things that I've never done. I mean, I've never told her that I've done out of just, you know what? You don't need to know. So
are there things, so that's your past, but are there things now that you've not, and both of you are married, that you guys have not told your partners for the sake of not wanting to hurt them?
No, I think once you become a one unit like that, you have to find ways of telling the truth, like Natalie had mentioned earlier, without hurting somebody.
Skillfully.
Because if your significant other can't tell you the truth and you can't accept it, why are you with that person?
And I also want to add to the question that is mentioning something from the past bringing anything fruitful to the present, right? Like why is bringing something up from the past relevant today? Because I'm sure there's plenty of things that Mike doesn't know about me from before we started dating and got married, but none of it serves us.
It's not beneficial to the relationship.
Yeah.
So let me ask a hypothetical question to the both of you. Okay, you're at work, and there's a new person that starts there at work, and you guys hit it off. They're attractive.
Work husbands.
No.
Boom.
They're attractive. You guys get along really good. Like,
okay,
everything is great. And then said person asks you out, hey, you know what? You've been so great with me starting work here.
Yeah.
Let me take you out for some coffee as a thank you.
Oh, this sounds like a sexual harassment
He's
webinar.
You. Why would it be sexual harassment if you're attracted to him?
Yeah.
Like, he's a good looking person.
Yeah.
You get along great.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Well, for you, it'd be a woman.
Oh, no. The thing is, you just...
Excuse me.
You just bypassed what Natalie said.
Which part?
as far as it being
work husband.
sexual harassment.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be realistic here. If a man asked a woman out that was his coworker, it would be considered sexual harassment, correct? Now,
according to my work,
Okay,
sexual harassment.
correct.
Yes.
But
Fine, politically correct.
if the woman asked a man out and she doesn't necessarily have
That's
to
not
be
sexual
attractive, it's
harassment.
not sexual harassment.
Oh, sorry.
So you get what I'm saying?
That's
So
true.
now
No,
we're all
that's
just
not
now,
fair.
Sexist.
now the company's lying.
Yep. See? Okay, so
So
hypothetically,
you go, you get coffee, and you're like, oh my God, I like this person.
he gets me.
He gets me.
Oh my God.
And you're both vibing. Like,
Yeah.
it's and for a minute, you think in your head, like, oh, dang, this could have worked out differently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because to not think that is not realistic, right? We all have those weird ass.
That's not
Just-
human like.
It's unhuman to not have those thoughts, right?
We are attracted
You
to other people.
think about that. You're not gonna come home and tell your partner, "Oh my God, this person at work, like I totally dig him. He's super cool. He asked me out for coffee. We got along really, really great."
Well, that goes back to what Natalie said. How beneficial is that to your relationship?
You're right. I would downplay that so hard. If that was something that were to happen in a real life scenario and I went out for coffee with someone that was really attractive and Mike asked me, "Hey, how's your day?" "Oh, it was good. I just caught some coffee with a coworker and then, the fucking computers went down and it was bullshit and
Yeah, you don't got to
I
go
didn't
into
meet a
the-
deadline."
Okay.
You don't have to
I
go
am
into
not
the
talking about
details.
this guy at all.
Okay, cool. So then Mike comes a couple
Lie to me.
Hold on. A couple, yeah, lie to me. Exactly.
Yes.
Which we have an episode about
I
that.
knew you were going there.
We want to be lied to. So here's the thing. Mike comes back to you a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shit, I
you
know
know
where you're
that coffee shop that our mutual friend works at? She was telling me she saw you there with some dude.
Oh my god.
Who? What happened?
I'm blushing even right now as you're like saying this. This didn't happen, I swear. Yeah.
See, because now because you omitted
Now you're on
it,
the spot.
Now because you omitted it and you
Right.
didn't, it wasn't necessary and
Right.
it wasn't going to bring any value to the relationship. Now your ass is lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, Ricky. If someone brings it up, you're still not lying,
Right.
right? Because you didn't. In order to lie, you actually have to say something that's contrary to what happened. And if we say it in that aspect of how Natalie's saying, like, I had coffee and went back to work, the computers went down.
Okay.
If you're not saying anything to the contrary of what happened, you're not lying.
Would you consider that a secret?
But is a secret a lie?
Well, I was even going to go that it's up to the person to believe. It's going to be up to them to believe whatever they want to believe. Are they going to believe me or are they going to believe the coffee shop person? You know what I mean?
And the thing is, the coffee shop person,
Perspective.
it depends on how they say it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, bro, oh girl,
Yo,
was
yo,
all over
girl.
homie. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
like,
Which then turns into hearsay, which a lot of us believe all the time.
Oh, the chisme is hot with that one
means
too.
you got to take into consideration who's telling you and how they're telling you, right?
You know what?
So that now the situation that you just presented, Natalie and I, you have to break it down a lot more than as simple as you're trying to get an answer out of. Right?
Ooh, and that person's reputation too. Sorry, I'm getting really into this.
Of the coffee
that
person?
makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so
they're just a chismosa,
No, but
or they're
so-
just, they like to start drama.
Yeah.
I was in a situation recently where somebody was like, well, so-and-so said that you did this, and that. I didn't even entertain the conversation. I didn't ask, well, who said what? And I didn't say, because
Hey,
it
Ricky.
was, yes?
Was it true?
Yeah. I'm over here like, can you tell us more?
Hell no, it wasn't true. But I was so irritated, the person that was questioning me, because I'm like, you talked all this shit that, oh yeah, we're cool, we're gonna help each other, this, that. And you're you're accusing me of doing something that I did not. I was not And I had never done that. Before, I would be like, well, who said it and why? And I would be concerned about what this person thought about me. And I would have been concerned with making sure that this person knew that I did not say that. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I was like, if you want to believe that, go for it.
Right.
It was probably one of the first times in my life where I was like, I'm not contributing
Yeah.
to any kind of hearsay. None of that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hell yeah, meows.
And that becomes just so much awareness of you. What's that quote? I say it all the time, that your perception of me is a reflection of you, or your reflection of you, or I don't know.
The
we have
perception of said person is a reflection of, I don't know.
You're right, and the awareness. Yeah, I'm too out of it now, but I'll have to post it later. So it just means that you're no longer entertaining just bullshit.
Nah.
And it's very big of you and of anyone that does this practice. Like, all right, yeah. Just let it out of your system, and I'm not going to entertain this. I got to go. I have other things that I need to concern myself with that are more important.
Which is why it always irritates me when people are like, oh, I'm not dealing with this high school bullshit. No, you're grown-ass people. And it has nothing to do with being in high school. You're still behaving in ways that...
Ironically,
high
though,
school.
Ironically, though, the people that say that they're not going to deal with this high school bullshit are usually the people that
That
start
do.
the high school bullshit.
100%.
Always. Every
100%.
single time.
Yeah, it's like I ain't gonna get into all this, but it's like, bro, you're the one that brought this conversation up.
We're talking about it because of you.
Now you got to be a grown ass man and face the situation, a grown ass woman and face the situation. You can't just bring something up and then leave the premise and be like, all right, you guys figure that out. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And I want to tie it back to what we were talking about earlier and what this quote has to say, right? This book is saying, like, we're not going to know love until we can create a real safe space for the people in our lives to be 100% honest.
Right.
But the thing is I don't think we are ready for that honesty. As much as people want to be like, I want you to be honest with me. I want you to tell me everything. No, you don't. You don't want to know what I'm thinking. You don't want to know what I'm doing. You don't have an interest in every whatever. Yes, you don't.
Right. And that's okay.
And it's all right.
That's okay. Totally okay.
So as much as I love what she's saying, that like, all right, cool. If you want to have a real, which ironically, she dedicates the book to a person that she loves deeply. And she says that he knows all of her sides, like the good, the bad, the ugly. I think they used to be married. Now they're not, but they're still really close. So I do believe that there are relationships that exist where you can be yourself. But I think before you can be yourself with people, how do you wash off the lies that you've told yourself so that you can know how to be yourself with yourself?
Right.
So you can learn how to be honest with yourself and hold yourself accountable to what you're saying, right? Like, I'm just learning that.
Right. And so part of that, so I've been studying to answer that question, right? Because now I feel like, oh, this is the light. And you've been studying this, and I've been studying this, and everyone here and that's getting to know us will know that we work really hard every day, almost too hard, to better ourselves. There's this book, Rickie was reading, The Energy Codes, right here.
I love that book. I've read it like 7 times.
And it's basically letting you know how to treat yourself, treat your body better. It talks a lot about, what is it, your true self, your passionate self. There's a term that they use. Anyways, but it's letting you know that your chakras, it's teaching you that your chakras have to be aligned in order to just live a life of peace, where you're going to shed all of the lies, all of the limiting beliefs that you've been told, yada, yada, yada. So here I am rediscovering the chakras and why they're important. And very relevant to this topic, and probably many, just everything, because this is life in general, right? So just to give a little bit of a little fun lesson here today, right? The chakras are a physical representation of your physical mind, your body, and your soul energy. There's 7 chakras that exist up and down the spine, from the root of the spine to the crown of the head. The internal wheel of the body has the potential to flow within the balance of positive energy when all 7 of the chakras are open. So there is also a potential for an unbalance or a block when one or more of the 7 chakras are closed off. So why does that matter? If the chakras are not in balance, the path to our inner self and spiritual growth is also blocked. The throat chakra, or the Vishuddha, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, controls the speaking, sound, your authentic voice, self-expression, communication, honesty, truth, etc., etc. Anything related to throat.
Right.
So how can we stay in balance? If you're watching us right now on Twitch or on YouTube, you'll notice that Rickie and I are wearing blue. We were going to drink blueberry tea, but I forgot
And
it.
your blue coat is off.
My blue coat is here, but I'm also wearing blue shoes, recycled from particles of the ocean stuff. And
Old Navy clothes.
Adidas, okay.
Yes.
I think my shirt is Old Navy. But their logo's blue too.
Blue.
See? So anyway, when you're wearing blue colors or eating blue foods, like blueberries, for example, it is believed that those will help heal that chakra. And there are other things too, of course, when you're saying positive affirmations in regards to how you communicate, self-expression, or when you're doing certain yoga poses, those are also helpful with the throat chakra specifically. But all chakras can be healed through yoga. Did
you finish
and nutrition.
that book?
No, not at all. I've been back and forth with it.
So I struggled with it because it's a tough read. And so when I would hear people talk about the chakras and this, it always sounded really easy. Okay, if you do this yoga pose, or if you pray this, or you do this and crystal that. Right. It's not easy. And that balanced life with getting all your chakras aligned is daily work.
Oh, yeah.
It's not something that you do in one day. You're unblocked and you're speaking your truth. It does not work that way. That is hard ass work. Yeah. But there are doctors in there that and I wish I would have known that you were talking about this book, because I found a practitioner that does Sue Morter's work. Okay. I went to go and see her. Yeah. This lady had me crying. Well, I easily cry anyways, but she identified certain parts of my body that I had a lot of blockage. And my throat chakra was one of them, because I either wouldn't say what I wanted to say, or I wouldn't speak up for myself, or I would withhold information or tell everybody everything's fine, but it wasn't. Yeah. Right. And that's been that way for years. And so that was one that I've been really, really, really trying to work on opening up. But that takes consistent
daily work.
Consistent daily work. Yeah. But it's beneficial and it's helpful, and it's a really that was a game changer for me reading that book. And like I said, I read it 3-4 times because I learned something new every time I read it.
Yeah, it's as complex as it is, it
is complex.
It is a good book to have, because even the way that the book is set up, you can kind of go in and say, like how we're saying, right, that we want to learn how to heal our throat chakra. So you can even go to the chapter where they're talking specifically about the throat chakra. So sure, it'd probably be best to read it from beginning to end, but it's just as beneficial to go in and all right, let me go through the middle of the book and see what they have, and they'll tell you how, what the
And I like that she, a big focal part of her book is that she says everything that happens to you, even if it's bad or it's terrible, devastating things that happen to you in your life, is for your absolute benefit. She really flips the script on that for you to understand that, cool, this terrible thing just happened to you. Well, here's an opportunity. Yeah. And here's what you can do to figure out what you needed to learn from this situation. Right. That you're crying in the corner about. Yeah. But it's necessary for you to take that next step of, peace in your life, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, which is, peace is not, at least for me, I don't think that peace is a constant state of being, realistically for me, so to speak, right? I think it's something that I work towards every day. Like I said, that requires a concentrated effort, time, space,
attention.
Yeah,
I agree that everything that's happening in our life it's for us. It is for you. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you.
And so with that, Natalie,
the reminders ourselves.
Please don't lie to me. Okay?
Okay.
If it's gonna hurt me, it's okay. I understand. I'm not telling you like you've lied to me before.
Fuck.
Disclaimer. Please, it's almost like when you enter into relationships with people, no matter what kind of relationship it is, friend, family, it's like you gotta say, here's my contract. Here's my personal contract with you.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens between us. Right. Don't lie to me. It's gonna be okay.
So, but isn't that just kind of a given?
No, hell no.
You don't think so? No. Like, you don't like just walk up into, and not that you see the thing about expectation, right? Don't you just expect that someone's going to be real with you because we're good human beings?
No.
That's like a form of respect, though, right?
What is that expectation?
To not lie to somebody. Not the expectation, but like you don't go into dealing with a situation with someone automatically wanting to lie with them. If you lie to the person, or if you go into a situation and you want to lie to that person, you have zero respect for that person.
I don't think so. Because it goes back to the day that you find yourself lying to whatever person you're lying to. Yeah. Again, I really think that lying comes from a place of fear. You didn't want to hurt that person, or you're trying to cover your ass for something, right? Which even trying to cover your ass for something, it comes from a place of fear. But either way, it comes from not an intention to lie to the person, but because so my dad has a book of quotes, and the first page of the book says, "Avoid pain at all cost." At all costs, avoid pain. Even this is not in the book, but I think even if it means lying to someone sometimes. Right? And this book covers that too, where they say sometimes people do lie because if it's going to avoid pain, why not?
Okay, so give me an example of that type of lie.
Where it would avoid pain?
Yeah, actually give me 2 examples.
I can't even give you one right now.
So here, right? Give me an example of interacting with someone that you say you respect and you have to lie to them. To avoid the pain, to avoid that type of conflict. And then give me an example of the contrary. Okay,
well, I don't disagree with you that if you really respect someone, you don't lie to them. And which goes back to trust. You have to really trust someone to be really honest with somebody. Yeah. Right? You have to feel in a safe place to tell somebody something they may not like. Here's what I do. Here's a bad habit I have. When I know someone's lying to me, which goes back to lying to myself. Shit. When I know someone's lying to me, I'm already in my head justifying why they're lying. They're not even justifying it themselves. But in my head, I'm like, well, they have to lie because this, and they went through this in their life.
Ay,
and pobrecito. What is that? And again, Ray, going back to...
You know what that is?
What?
That's the result of being an overthinker.
Really?
Because you're already breaking down the situation.
I am. And
for no reason. Even unfolded.
For no reason, and on behalf of the said liar. For no reason. Already
You're already validating all of their being.
Saying, it's okay that you've lied to me. I understand. But don't do it. That's insane.
You're helping them out. They're not even trying to...
They don't even give a shit.
Yeah.
But I'm over here like, well, look at their life. And
they're probably thinking, man, this shit was easy.
And so they keep lying.
No.
Right? I'm the problem. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I'm the problem. It is embarrassing. It is embarrassing because I'm genuinely embarrassed that I just said all of that out loud because I had to picture that in my head.
Listen, and that's why this podcast is genius because it takes saying things out loud in real time to be like, oh, fuck, there it is. That's the answer.
You know what? And you know who I'm going to blame for this? My grandmother.
Oh, God.
Because I have her voice in my head anytime something bad would happen where... her trying to explain on other people's behalves. Oh, well, because this and that, and you have to think about what you don't know about what people have going on. I mean, that was drilled into my head. Anticipating what you don't know about things, but then overthinking and coming up with an entire excuse for a person
that doesn't give a shit about
what they're telling you.
Yeah. So I came across, because I want to entertain this for a minute. I came across this quote that says, "They don't lie to you because the truth will hurt your feelings. They lie to you because the truth might provoke you to make the choices that won't serve their interests."
Oh, read that one more time.
They don't lie to you because the truth will hurt your feelings. They lie to you because the truth might provoke you to make the choices that won't serve their interests.
Damn.
Hey, honestly, that one deserved something a little bit more masculine than a meow.
Lie.
Because that goes along with what me and Rickie have had conversations in the past about, where it's just like, who are you saving by telling that lie? You know, like, you feel like you're saving that other person, or they don't want to be receptive to it. But it's just like, because you have to be receptive to the truth, and if you're not, is that a lie?
Okay. You have to be receptive to the truth, and if it's not, is it a lie?
You're lying to yourself if you're not
Right.
taking it in as the truth, right? Because you keep telling yourself, nah, bro, I shouldn't. No, I won't say this. only because it goes to an extreme. But
Hey, we love extremities here.
so, nah, I can't do it.
You can't be honest with us, right?
No, because Cat. I don't know if you guys know. Obviously, you know who Cat Williams is, right?
Yeah, the comedian.
So there's a bit, and I forget what comedy special he had years ago, where he says, I pretty much like, if so many people are telling you the same thing, right? And I'm gonna just context it because I don't want to say exactly what he said because
It's inappropriate.
it's hell of inappropriate. But if everybody is telling you, or there's a majority of people that are telling you something, and you choose not to listen to it, damn it, it's the truth, right? Like. And then after that, he says something else. That's what I didn't want to say. But it's just like, man, like if there's 10 of us in a room, right, Rickie, and we'll say we're all talking to Natalie, and Natalie goes home and talks to Mike, and I was like, man, the group and I were just having a conversation, and they all said this about me, not all together, but just in separate conversations,
Right, not collectively.
Right. At some point, you have to realize that's the truth, and you're not. You can't not accept that, right? Because it's like
multiple people have said it about
I completely
me.
disagree with that 100%. And this is why, because at the end of the day, the truth is what you believe. Nobody.
Okay, well, so let me put the context out there, and I didn't. This is why I didn't want to say the extra part that Cat Williams said after that.
Okay.
So, don't shoot the messenger, y'all. He said, Whitney damn near smoked her kneecaps off.
Right.
Meaning what?
Right.
If the entire world is saying this about a person,
it must be true.
It must be true. If your entire collective of the people that you're around are saying something, it must be true. Now, when you start thinking about perspective, now you're just introducing a lie to yourself because you don't want to believe the truth of what the majority of everybody's saying to you.
Right. And at that point, the truth is what you believe, which is why you have no kneecaps at this point.
Pretty much.
Right. So, and you and I, yesterday you said two things can be true.
Two things can be true.
Two things can be true. So the 10 people could be right about her, what she's doing with her life, and she is right in her own beliefs about.
But in your own belief is that's where you gotta you got to be honest with yourself, and you're not being honest with yourself because you're saying in her own belief.
Right. And then
in her own belief isn't reality.
But it is though, because because her reality is literally accepting her pain and then taking active
Let me rephrase that. Her reality is her reality. What that collective is saying is reality. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's reality and an individual's reality.
Right.
Which are two totally separate things, and that's what you're referring to, right?
Right.
So she could go home and talk about her reality, but they didn't relay that information over to her reality. They're relaying it to her in reality, in a general sense of everybody.
Right. Okay. So then that leads me to another question. Acceptance, right? Now I'm thinking, and I'm going back and listening to the voices in my head of people who were giving me advice. Like people who were telling me, hey, slow down. Hey, slow down. Hey, slow down. And I'm not slowing down. I'm like, you don't know what I got. You don't know what I have to do. You don't know what's on my plate. You can't tell me to slow down. Right?
Mind your business.
Mind your business. And then in retrospect, because, certain people can tell you and it's one thing, but then people close to you, when they tell you, it carries a different caliber.
Right.
Still dismissing all of it.
Yeah.
Right? So that part of it is important too, which goes back to the accountability piece that raises when you're ready to accept what people are trying to tell you and accept that the lies that you've been telling yourself are not serving you. And that's when the whole game changes.
It's not reality.
That's when the whole game changes.
And that's because accountability is misconstrued in the sense of just as regular human beings, we connect accountability with blame.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big one, which is why we lie.
Yeah.
But can you elaborate on that?
So if I tell you to be accountable for your actions, so if you talk about a situation where you're talking to Natalie and you're like, girl, can you believe this happened? And you just spit out all the details, and in the back of Natalie's mind, she's like, yes, I can believe that happened. Why couldn't you believe that happened?
Oh, God, yeah.
You couldn't believe that happened because you were afraid to face the reality. You were afraid to face,
You're in
to
denial.
have the accountability to understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were, in denial.
Which goes back to love and self-acceptance
thinking,
and unconditional.
It always my whole life right now.
But it always goes back and forth.
Yeah.
It always goes back.
It's infinity, really, right? Like,
yeah.
Everything that we go through, it's just an infinite amount of it. Like, it will never stop.
Right.
And the only thing that you can't control is yourself.
So I think that when you start to shift that part of your life where you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to clean this up. I don't want to live in a world of fallacies, and I want to really kind of tap into my realities and what I have to do. I think when that happens, your circle around you changes.
Yeah.
It gets a lot smaller.
It gets a lot smaller because now the amount of people that have access to me, gone.
And they can't handle your realness and your purity and your direct.
And I can't handle a conversation with these people.
Yeah.
Because when I'm hearing what they're saying, I'm like, all I'm thinking
you're
is
just so past it.
You're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. And I don't have a tolerance for that anymore. And I went way over capacity with that. And so now it's just.
And most of the people that can't accept it, or like, if they tell you, oh man, like, oh, you're switching up on us, or right?
Which I got.
Those are usually the people that they haven't accepted themselves. They haven't found accountability within themselves to figure out their truth. Not their truth, but the truth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like they want you to keep lying to yourself the way they lie to themselves.
Right.
And once you stop doing that, it's like, man, you changed. Like, I'm being honest.
You're different.
They want you to do good, but not better than them.
Oh, man. Sheesh. That one hit. That one hit, Natalie. Jesus Christ.
Well, as we're wrapping up here, so today's episode was produced live by yours truly, Raymond Andrew, at Rose City Sound with your host, Natalie, and myself. For inquiries, topic suggestions, and sponsorship opportunities, please email us at onthisfrequency@gmail.com.
That's right. On This Frequency is available where all podcasts can be streamed. If you want to buy Rickie and I some coffee because we love it, you can send us your donation at buymeacoffee.com/On This Frequency. And you can also keep in touch with us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is simply On This Frequency.
For those of you tuning in on Twitch, we're closing this episode out with your comments and questions right after this.
Increase the peace, y'all. All right, what's the chat looking like?
I want to know everyone's lies on the chat.
Yo, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
You guys
What
need
are
to
y'all
let us-
lying about
you guys,
in there?
you guys figured out some of our situations. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm gonna try
I'm
to
glad
go
no
in
one asked me about my life. I got away with that one.
I held back with that because I'm like, because it was kind of a big question. I was like, that might be an uncomfortable thing, for people to talk about.
I wouldn't say I'm uncomfortable with it. I'll be honest. Like I told you the other day, I don't think I really lied in the sense of like hurting myself or keeping myself safe, right? I haven't really lied since I was a kid to not get my ass spanked, right?
As much as I don't want to believe you, I believe you.
Like I've said it before, I'm honest to a fault because
Right.
I just don't see the point in it, right? Like, so when I was a kid, every time I would lie, it was like
A consequence?
it was a consequence to it.
So you picked up on it quickly.
And I always tell my kids that, like, look, man, I'd rather you just be honest with me so we could figure out this situation than for you to lie, and then I have to figure out from someone else what really happened.
Right.
One, I'm gonna end up looking like a fool. Two,
Right.
there was no purpose in you lying. I'm gonna be more upset at the lie than I am the truth.
And you just live more peacefully this way.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about keeping tabs about who said what and who were you lying to or about what, and remembering what you said on this day.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Vinny saying, so Vinny Code, we love you. He's a great follower of Rose City Sound. He supports all of our creativeness that we do here with Severe's lives and Ray's lives and Hex's lives. Vinny, we love you.
We love you, Vinny.
And apparently you have a lot of lies that would take up all of our time. So
Right.
But thank you, Rebecca. Jody's on here. I'm blanking out already.
Yo, Otto actually asked earlier. I don't know where it's at. It might be further
about
up there.
I
That
saw
her
that.
dad would like to know what lines. Oh man,
You know what? I think I did have a $32,000 lie.
a 32 at work.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was,
Wait a minute. How long ago was this?
I don't know, like 15 years ago.
Okay.
I was
So
learning
it's
how
not-
to do a specific job, and I over-ordered
Oh, okay.
something, and I scrambled and lied to buy myself some time to see if I could cancel the order, which I did, thank God. So again, I used a lie to buy me some time.
Yeah.
Was it honest? No.
No.
But also, I was terrified of my boss at that time. The boss that I had after that, no problem
Cool.
being honest
Chill.
with him. I had so rest in peace. It was Richard Delman. I was mortified of that. I was
Better not
mortified
lie.
of him. So I was like, let me fix the problem. So here's a little lie, and I'm going to go and fix it. My boss afterwards, Jerry Luttrell, he's one of a beautiful mentor of mine, really kind of put me in an environment where I could be honest. And he always told me, if you're just honest with me from the beginning, I can help you fix the problem.
I wonder if people are more susceptible to lying at the workplace more than at home with their.
I would think so.
I don't think so too. It's
Because
easier.
it's like, all right, what are you gonna do? Fire me? I just go get another job.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
I never thought like that. I was always holding on to my jobs for dear life. Like,
Well, that goes back to what we've said in the past, like
Respect.
that, I guess. But I think more so just like our upbringing of like, find a good job and stick with it.
yeah,
Like our parents have been with companies for 30 plus years, to where if you look at people in our like in our generation, we've all had multiple streams of income.
Yeah. So you're yes, we have multiple streams of income, but we also, our generation in particular, I think we do stay at jobs a little bit longer. It's this younger generation who just flip flop from job to like 3 months. I don't like this. Pass.
I could say that my resume doesn't have more than 3 years apiece per company. I don't think I've been at a job.
Well, 3 years is still good. Like that's a nice amount of time.
Yeah.
Well, back then, 3 years was like
an insult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's a little more acceptable.
Do you remember the reference that we used to have when you would put in an application?
Oh yeah. List your 2 references.
Jody's been my reference for everything. Yeah. Jobs, credit, emergency contact. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had to ask for reference like in the last 10 years.
Okay, watch this. Do you guys have letters of recommendation? No. That makes me feel old now.
Well, you know what? No,
I have like 4.
That's actually a lie because...
Oh, a lie?
Yeah, it is a lie. Because actually, and I just remember that because one of my clients actually right now is a person that uses me as a reference.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm a barber. And along with all the other shit that I do. But he's actually in law enforcement.
Okay.
And I used to be his supervisor.
Oh, shit.
So anytime he goes for a new position in law enforcement, no matter what, if once you're in there, even if you go to a new position, you still got to go through that whole process all over again. So every position that he's had, I've had to be, I was his reference, and I've had to fill out that questionnaire, like
about the person, right?
Him, yeah.
Oh my god.
So it's like,
so that brings up an interesting point. How many people have lied on a resume?
You know what? I think a lot of people have.
Right. If you're in the chat and you've lied on a resume,
yeah,
say you have. But then
Vinny said my resume is jacked.
He said it.
Oh, we should have all gone into tech. Easiest way to level up, especially with compensation. Huh. Okay.
You know what? That makes sense, though.
Lying on your resume?
No. I mean, that makes sense, too. If you're doing it in an aspect to get yourself to where you need to be, then, yeah, I would understand that. Because a lot of times companies end up telling you how many years of experience do you have in a certain field, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, bro, like if you're 18, how many years of experience do you think I'm going to have?
I need this job because this is where I'm going to get the experience, damn it. I know I just applied for this healthcare, kind of like a sales job where you provide services for low-income communities, right? And so I get on this meeting with the recruiter, and she's like, well, it looks like you're, I'm looking at your resume, and it looks like you have very extensive experience in banking. So do you have any healthcare experience at all that you want to talk about? No, I don't. But just give me this fucking job because I want to help my community. That's why I'm here.
You know what, though,
you should have called me on that.
Sometimes you have to lie because they say you're overqualified.
Right.
I've lied.
Yeah.
I lied I removed things from my resume.
So I've definitely removed.
That's the biggest thing that I did, which goes back to omitting. And I want to bring up Jody because she brings up a really good point. Otto, she says, I am great at a lie for other people, but for myself, I suck at it. Nothing irritates me more than a bad liar, especially when I can tell that you're lying to me. I think I told my kids growing up, like, could you please, like, if you're going to lie, like...
Make it good.
Make it good. Like, make me believe it, please. Yeah. Like, don't do this.
Yeah.
But let me pose a question since Jody's bringing this up. If I call the two of you up and I'm like, yo, I need you to lie for me. I need you to say that I was here at this time, at this place. If you get a call from said person, would you do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm down. I'm going to write for you. You said this.
But here's the thing. I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
And we're going to have a conversation about that.
Yeah, later. Why are you doing this?
Yes, okay.
I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to embarrass you in front of said person.
You're going to do the job in that moment.
I'm going to do what I need to do to get you into or out of whatever situation
Yeah.
you're into.
I agree.
And we're going to have a very uncomfortable conversation after.
I like that though.
Yeah, you're putting me in the middle of things. Now I'm gonna be involved because you want me to be involved. So
Hey,
let's
Lerman's
talk.
back.
Yes. And I want to bring up a point because Vinny talks about how he doesn't have to lie with his experience and knowledge. I think that some jobs are pretty much, you can show your work. So for instance, like a tech job, or if you're coding, or if you're writing something, you can show examples of what you can do.
I see. Yeah.
Nestor, DJ Deadloop, he was applying for a sound position at a college, and part of his application,
Yeah.
he had to go and he had to set up the full sound system in front of them. I think they were timing him, and there were certain elements that he wasn't sure about, but he figured it out. And I was kind of like,
Pressure.
That's
That
that's
actually
crazy.
reminds me of Big Brother Jake. Big Brother Jake had to do the same thing.
He told the story about
I
that.
think it was at Dodger Stadium. He had to do this a situation similar to that,
Yeah.
and he had no idea about it. And he was suited up,
Oh. Wow.
and
He
they were
was.
just like, "Boom!" I think he
Let's
said
do
that
this
he's like,
now.
"All right, you're on call now.
Dang.
Go take care of the situation." And he had to mic up a whole everything like that, like at an
On
instant.
the spot, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. So I think in those situations, yeah, you better know what you're talking about.
But
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm just reading what Vinny wrote where he says, I've done things for people to get a job. Photoshop skills can do miracles on documents.
Oh,
so,
Vinny.
Vinny, you're an enabler, is what you're saying. You enable the lies.
I'm
Let
gonna
me
have
tell
to
you-
keep Vinny on my
No,
like
because-
pocketbook so
no,
for,
no, that's
for when
scary.
it's needed.
That's scary because I don't know that I would ask somebody to do something to that degree, because if it came down to now I have to perform this job
Yeah.
that I said I could do.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Forging my life.
I actually think I'm in a situation like that right now.
wait a minute though, Vinny, what type of Photoshop was it? Like, was it Photoshop to a person, or Photoshop to like
Like a passport or what
Like-
kind of
like a lot of
photoshopping?
passport
like a presentation of something? Like, what exactly were you photoshopping?
Yeah, we need details, Vinny.
What kind of
'Cause if it was
documents are
like-
you photoshopping here?
If you photoshopping OnlyFans chicks, you're gonna find out.
Yeah, see that's what I'm saying. So, okay, we all agree that we're all participants in lying for others. We're willing to help other people.
I think we're all participants in line for ourselves, though.
That
First and
self-interest
foremost,
quote.
yes.
For self-interest, like Natalie referenced earlier. Like, if it's not beneficial,
Yeah.
even if I don't say it, depending on who you're talking to, it could be considered a lie.
Right. 100%. That's the
Me personally, I'm black and white in essence. Like,
Yeah.
if you tell me, you tell me. If you didn't, you didn't. If you didn't, and you didn't offer a contrary to it, I'm not going to consider you a liar. I'm just going to consider someone that doesn't tell all the information that's needed.
Self-interest.
You know what sets us up to lie? The Santa Claus lie.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
That's what sets us up to lie.
I will not let I'm going to say now. And as much as I love Christmas,
I love Christmas.
there should not be a grown-ass man that seeks a paycheck and allowing little children to sit
Why,
on
people?
his lap.
Well, okay, no. You don't tell your kids that Santa Claus does not exist. Your kids believe in Santa, right?
Yeah, I just don't let them sit on the one at the
Well,
mall.
no, of course. Of course. So, and you're going to tell DeLuca that Santa Claus exists?
Yeah.
That's a lie. It's not true. He doesn't exist. He ain't coming down your chimney.
San Nicolás.
Pero San Nicolás sí.
No, wait. What are the los Reyes Magos that
Yeah,
come
los
out?
Reyes Magos, yeah.
But
Have to
that-
leave your
but-
shoes
Los
outside.
Reyes, right.
Yeah.
But that's so what you're saying is you're cool with obscuring a kid's innocence to tell them the truth. You could tell them the truth at some point.
Yeah. I think, well, see, and again, I think that, like the Santa Claus lie, it lends itself to imagination, which is what you were talking about with the whole toddler thing. And
Yeah, that's their imagination.
that's their imagination.
Wavy said that you helped her bedazzle her resume.
You have no idea how many people's resumes I've
Bedazzled.
sprinkled my fairy dust over. you
Sometimes
have
need
no
that.
idea.
Those keywords
I
make
charge
a difference.
$80 now.
You should. Hell yeah.
I do. But see, here's the thing too, and it drives me crazy too. because again, you're applying at jobs and you're removing things because you're not a mind reader. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You can say, here's a job description and here's my experience with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking on a job that big blessing to Rose City Sound. We're going to be doing all of the entertainment for the LA Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's a big milestone for all of us.
Yeah.
Guess what? There's shit on there I have no idea how I'm going to do. I've never done specific aspects of the job. Did I omit that I didn't know how to do that part?
Right.
Maybe because, which ironically, I was talking to my boss and he was telling me what I was worried about was the mapping and the zoning. I was like, shit, I need to kind of wrap my head around how I'm going to place certain things. And he was like, that's easy. What he was panicking about was all the talent to be booked. I was like, what? That's the easiest part. And he goes, you see why
We're better together.
we're biased. And we're biased. We panic about things. How do I know that the person who hired me, they might be more worried about my ability to bring in the right talent instead of the mapping part.
Yeah.
Where I'm over here panicked about the mapping part.
Right.
If anybody knows how to map and zone, please,
Isn't that why they got? Isn't that why they got the cops?
That's a whole separate thing.
That's crazy.
Well, I asked for like the last 3 years what they did, so I can just kind of compare and go from there.
Off that.
Vinny said he just remembered that he faked a drug screen for someone to get a job. That's a pretty down ass lie right there. That
I'm
goes
down
I mean,
with
what
that.
kind of drug? You know what I
what
mean?
kind of drug, Vinny?
Yeah.
Well, no, and
we have so many questions for Vinny.
There
Wait a
are
minute,
because
Vinny.
was the person an addict and was it really enabling, or was it a one-time thing? They smoked some weed, they shouldn't,
Yeah.
And not just that, like I would like to know, did you hand him the like did you hand it to him in a baggie?
No.
Did you give him a cup?
Yeah,
Like,
how
how
did
did you
this-
prepare that, bro?
Wait, isn't he saying that he fixed the results?
Oh, he fixed the results.
I think that's probably what he's saying.
Oh, wow.
He had to have fixed the results. You know, Vinny ain't handing
Oh.
off no urine.
Man.
Oh, weed. Yeah.
Weed.
Weed should be illegal.
Well,
That's-
now it is, but so that had to been like what, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, Vinny.
Wait, you're saying because weed is legal now?
Mm-hmm.
So in the FAA, you still can't smoke weed. They'll still drug test you for that. And you,
Well, you can't not get your job for testing positive for it though either, right?
yeah. If you test positive for that, you ain't get no job
Yeah, but
for the FAA.
if you get drug tested at work today,
Mm-hmm.
and they find weed in your system, and it wasn't from that day, they can't fire you.
They can
Because
because
they
it's still
don't-
in your system.
It doesn't matter though.
So the feds
For the
for the
FAA specifically, that's
the
the,
FAA
case. But what about
specifically.
for other
For
jobs?
I don't know
general.
about others.
Yeah, I think for the general
like, Yeah.
workforce,
Yeah, thank you.
that's different.
Right. So Jody's confirming, yeah, weed is still not legal for the FAA, and so that's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, how big of a community is the FAA?
It's fucking huge, and they're trying to turn that over right now because they're also trying to kind of express how weed or like CBD, aviation is a very stressful industry to work in.
You know what?
Very,
though?
very stressful.
That's just though because you have people's lives in your hands.
Yes, 100%.
Like-
But so check this out: if you manufacture an airplane part, manufacture it brand new from scratch, no drug test. If you repair it, drug test.
Wow.
Explain that.
That's
kinda
interesting.
If you
It
make
should be
the
across
part,
the
if you-
board.
no, if you make the part from scratch,
You're fine.
no, you ain't. You can hire Joe off the street to assemble it.
No
but
kidding.
if you want to repair it, Joe ain't touching it. Even
Yeah.
though Joe put it together, he's not gonna repair it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I would never have thought of that.
Yeah, aviation.
And do you know why? Why, like, do they have a reasoning to that, or
It just is.
OEMs and repair stations just have different worlds that they operate under.
you would think?
And not a lot of repair stations live under the same roof as OEMs or manufacturers. Like that doesn't happen too often. It does exist, but usually you don't commingle the two.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So yeah, crazy FAA. Thank you, Jodes. You're right.
Vinny hasn't been tested in a tech job since 2010.
Wait, they test in tech? I didn't know that.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like,
What?
No.
Wait.
That's the other thing too. No. That's the other thing too. When people say, I'm not gonna lie, or they
you
say,
feel like there's a lie
I'm gonna
coming?
be or when they say I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, because you're not every other time.
No,
Are you not honest with me every
gonna
other
be honest
time
with you
we
right
talk? Like, what the fuck?
Honestly.
Yeah,
I
are you not honest
wouldn't-
every other time?
I'm pretty sure you're aware that I'm pretty honest.
Yes,
Which is why I've always referred to myself as understanding why people think I'm an asshole.
and this is a common argument that Ray and I have all the time, because he's always said that I'm an asshole. No, you're not. You're straight up with people. But
Yeah.
again, because people are not used to
Yeah.
just having frank conversations,
Right. Oh, you're
Or-
an asshole.
you're an asshole.
I'm offended.
But then
Sensitive.
Ray, maybe you need to have you borrow this book so you could be skillful when telling the truth.
Hold on. I don't need to be skillful how to tell the truth if I'm already telling the truth.
Yes, but it says there how sometimes you
mean-
can deliver the truth in a hurtful way.
So you want me to read a book to learn how to pet somebody while I'm telling them that they're
Which
fucking
basically that's what it is.
You have to hold someone's hand through the truth.
Yeah, and
I
I think
can't.
most of us need to be pet.
up. No, I don't
I
believe
want to
that.
be pet.
I don't
Pet
think,
me before you hurt me, please.
I don't think that's entirely true. Because then what is that person learning? What is that person gaining from you petting them before that happens?
Okay,
Called coddling.
so okay, but
Exactly.
so
That's
all
like babying. That's like babying a child.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You guys are married. You have problems at home. Oh, shit. You have problems at home. You are arguing with your spouse. Things get nasty.
What kind of nasty?
Not that kind of nasty.
Okay.
Do you withhold from your children seeing that conflict? Or do you openly expose your children to that conflict?
I think it depends on what the conflict is. Only because there's like a ladder.
Everything's not for them.
Yeah, there's like a ladder process in the household, right? Like usually the mom is the cool, collective, fun one,
Okay.
and the dad is more the disciplinary. So then when the dad makes a decision, that's kind of usually where it ends, right? The final say usually ends up there. Not for everybody, obviously, just in a general sense. Now, if you end up having an argument in front of your children or some type of conflict in front of your children, you're allowing your children to know that ladder process that you guys have built doesn't even work. Because now, like, even if he's wrong, would it make sense for your children to see that you just checked your significant other?
I think it is. And
But here's the thing, and I asked that because when he goes, or she, whoever is the final say in the relationship, when they go to have that final say with those children, what respect do you think they're going to have for that person if the significant other didn't have it?
agreed. So, do you guys remember 2020? The show 2020? Am I just
say
too
the
old
year.
here?
No, yeah.
2020
Isn't
with
it still
Barbara
on?
Walters.
Rest in peace, Barbara Walters.
Rest in peace. Wait, she died?
Recently, no?
Yeah, like
What?
a week or two ago.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Yeah. Really
You're not
recent.
lying. That sucks. I loved Barbara Walters. She was a great journalist. Oh, man. Rest in peace. Okay, so, and Anita, I hear what you're saying, that adult stuff is adult stuff. You're not wrong. Barbara Walters interviewed Peter Jennings, who was another television journalist. Peter Jennings was doing a report on divorces. And he was sharing his story about how his whole life he never saw his parents argue, ever. And then one day, bam,
Divorce.
we're getting divorced. He's like, WTF. Nobody, I didn't even know. It came as a complete surprise. He had
Yeah.
no idea, because they did the adult stuff, everything behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And he gave a wonderful argument that stayed with me to this day. If you do not show your kids conflict resolution, and resolution is the key word with that. Now, the element of respect, Ray, I understand that piece of it, right? And I think that has to be kept in mind when you're arguing with one another. When you're having that conflict with one another, you have to know that there's an audience watching you. And then you have to make the choice to resolve that conflict in front of them so that they know, hey, guess what? The reality is we're going to have disagreements as parents, as children, as husband and wife. It's going to happen. But it's okay.
You know what? That A. Lerman just said that arguing is different from discussions, which is actually a big... It's a big... Like, that actually divides what you're saying. Because if you're literally arguing about it, then... I think that's where it introduces the disrespect. I think arguments happen out of disrespect. Discussions don't happen with disrespect.
So let me ask this. How do you distinguish that in a Latino household? I think about all the arguments and discussions. I couldn't distinguish. I heard yelling or arguing. It was all kind of the same to me. I never saw, and I am generalizing in this space, that in the Latino community, I'm not sure that we practice that enough where we can show the difference of a disagreement or an argument or a discussion or a difference. And it just kind of all gets thrown in one.
Right. And in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking about how, is this a discussion? Is this an agreement that the child should be watching me do?
Right.
I think, too, it also depends on the age of the children.
Yes, 1,000%.
Because, like, my son... Like, me and my wife, we do argue. But a lot of times, I even tell my son, you realize the things that you and your mother and I argue about are usually just, they're things that end up having to do with something that we could actually just figure out easy. And it's not because we hate each other. I think if you end up having an actual discussion, like, there's always a process to everything, because you can't sometimes you can't prevent an argument and who's around it. There's times where you might argue in front of family, you know, or there's times you might argue in front of your children or in front of close friends without realizing that you just had that argument in front of everybody. Because especially if you're like the type of person that's like, hey, we're not going to argue in public. We'll talk about it later. But sometimes...
I like that part. Let's just take this after.
Yeah, sometimes that shit just starts building up. And it's like,
that's
no,
true too.
We're not going to talk
inevitable.
about it. But I think after that situation, if you sit down and have that conversation and discussion like A. Lerman was saying, then you would... It makes it different. I think that understanding for the children is more prominent for them. For them to realize, like, all right, they did have a pretty intense argument, and they're still good. Like how you're saying, how Peter Jennings said, like, man, we were shocked. I get that aspect, but I think, too, that's just an old school method.
So, listen, two interesting points here from Alerma, who says, arguing teaches one-sidedness, and Alina coming in hot with, arguments have ego.
1,000%.
I'm impressed, my little one. That's 100% right. And
I'm not yelling. I just talk like this. Said Alerma.
You know what? That's actually a good point, though, too. How do you justify an argument? Because there's some people with louder voices.
I have a loud voice.
And then
I'm always accused of yelling.
There's people, and this goes back to our topic of lying. There's people that when they hear the truth, and no matter what decibel level your voice is at, you're yelling at them.
Oh, agreed. Agreed. Damn, that's a good point. That's a really good point. The whole room gets quiet. I mean, I've been in situations where everything gets quiet. You could be in the loudest space. Whole room gets quiet. You hear a truth. And you're just sitting with yourself like, fuck.
Yeah. So true.
And, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful point. Alerma, most people listen with the intent to reply instead of the intent to listen. That is 1,000% true. And it makes me sad because I'm thinking about the arguments that I've had recently, and I'm like, I'm not even trying to listen. I'm trying to defend myself. I'm trying to explain myself. I'm trying to force the other person to see my side of it.
Yeah.
And both people are trying to do that. Yeah. And nothing comes out of it.
Yeah,
but two Rams.
Yeah, to Wavy's point. It's ego-driven.
And for the record, Vinny, I do yell out your name in all caps on every stream. So I'll whisper it now. This was good. This was really good.
So anybody in the chat, I don't think I've read anybody's like actual lies yet.
No one's told a lie on their chat.
Besides Vinny and his drug tests. And
That was a big one, Vinny. Thank you for sharing
Vinny's
that.
for the people, though. Shout out Vinny, man. He's for the people, yo.
He is. We love Vinny. So now we know who to contact.
I'm going to need these documents.
We need these documents.
Validation is important. Elaborate on that, Anita.
Wait, what?
She said validation is important. Validation in what way?
Bray and I were just talking about this because I'm so proud of myself today. I had this wonderful epiphany today about lying to ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. About how desperately many times I sought validation and acceptance from people. So desperately.
Yeah.
Right? To a fault where you're like trying to do all these things because you just want to be recognized like, hey, when in reality, I got to do that for myself. I don't need anybody to tell me. I shouldn't need any. Does it feel good when people tell you, hey, good job?
Yeah.
Hey, I love what you did.
Right.
Yes, it feels good.
Right.
But shit, if I don't believe and know for myself that I've accomplished said things, I'm worth said time.
Yeah.
If I don't believe that about myself,
then you're always going to be seeking
I'm always gonna be
validation from
seeking
someone
validation.
else.
Always. And that is tiresome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always going to need someone else's approval, and you're never going to be at peace.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Do you think that stems from upbringing?
Oh, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps the many lies, like what Natalie was referencing earlier, like with her son, like when he's mad,
stubborn?
that's just like Natalie.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you're lying to me. But now I got to validate myself
Right.
and show you that that's not me. I wasn't like that.
Right.
You know, I was talking to one of my dear friends, Eugene, that I've known like my whole life practically. And he was telling me, he goes, damn, Ricky, he's like, why don't you believe what I see in you? He's like, you are this person. And he describes me, right? And he goes, why don't you know that for yourself? And I was low-key, like, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
But the lies we believe, right? Why don't I believe that about myself? Why do I believe the lies I've been told about myself, right?
Yeah.
All the negative things that people have told me throughout my life.
Yeah.
You're this, you're that, or you're not good enough, or you can't do this. Why am I believing all the negative things and not believing all the great things that I know about myself and that other people tell me about myself? Why do I choose to believe the negativity over the positivity?
Heavier,
so
it's easier.
Yeah.
A. Lerma just broke it down for us.
Oh, okay.
She says, if you listen to someone and you really listen, they feel they are heard. And sometimes most people don't want to fix them or reply. They just want to listen.
Yeah.
Validation of their feelings.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
yes.
example, she uses lowriders. Guys know their cars look good, but when someone tells them it looks good, their faces light up because that validation is great to hear.
It is.
That's actually...
That's a great example.
Yeah, that's meow worthy right there.
Human connection. It comes back to human
Connection.
connection and love and acceptance.
But going back to what we were talking about in general, do we lie to validate people? Do we need to lie to validate people?
Check this out. And again, I go back to this book, right?
Yeah.
I feel like such a shitty person. I cannot tell you how many times I've lied to men. So many times I've lied to men where they're like, oh, did you know this, that,
Oh,
da-da-da-da?"
you dumb yourself down?
Oh, you know how many times I've done that in my life where I'm like,
Me too.
oh, no, I didn't know that.
Like, girl, it's
Even
righty
though I
tighty, lefty loosey.
Right.
Oh, really?
Is it? Right. Oh,
Yes.
even
Yes.
though I told you last week that I knew
Yes.
about this and you're still telling me,
All the time.
I've lied so much to try to make them feel better about themselves because you dumbass, you didn't listen to me last week when I told you that I know that we're talking about this right now.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
don't want to make them feel bad, so I'm
Right.
going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. You act shocked. Wow.
Oh, my God.
What? Where did you watch that? Yeah, I do it all the
that
time.
goes back to petting them. You're stroking the ego, right?
Yeah.
So
It's not a good
DJ
thing.
Severe says most people listen to respond and only want cheerleaders and not corrections. Which he has a point. That's 1000% true. And with that, one thing I always tell people is when you talk to people, you're not entitled to spew 100% of the truth, right?
Wait. What?
Like so if I'm talking to you,
Okay.
and we're having a conversation, and I'm gonna seek you for advice, right? If I'm talking to you to seek for advice, but I'm only giving you pieces of
Yes.
the information, and I'm not giving you anything. Technically, you kind of end up approaching people that
Sideways.
only listen to respond,
Yeah.
as opposed to listening to people that will listen, or talking to people that will listen and question, right? So if you end up talking to someone that only responds and they're gonna just listen to what you say and be like boom, and it becomes a one-sided situation and you're cool with it. If you talk to someone who listens and can offer the contrary, and that's an actual discussion, that's not really that's just, it doesn't become one-sided. I think a lot of times we all end up, we're like, hey, I want your advice on something, and it becomes, and you don't even have to say it, but I'm only going to tell you what I want you to hear,
Right.
so that it validates my thought process.
Right.
So then,
So that you can agree with me and I'm right.
1000%.
Okay. So, and to Severe's point, right, about cheerleaders, how we were talking about when you get to a point of honesty in your life, and your circle goes down to just having real people around you, real people who are not going to tell you the wonderful things about you, that are going to tell you the challenging things about you so that you can get better at something. That's a very important point. I don't want you to lie to me and tell me what you think I want to hear. I want you to tell me, it doesn't even mean to like tell me all the terrible truths. Nah, just be real with me. Just when we have to have an honest conversation. And you know what? And you tell me if I'm wrong, Ray, because I'd like to think that when I call you and I call you and I vent to you about a specific thing, I try very hard to include my own faults in it, because I do worry about that. I do worry about that. Like, I'm only giving you a piece of it. How can you give me full advice about something when it's kind of biased? I'm only giving you one side about it, so you can't really be, give real, genuine feedback full circle.
Right.
But I do agree with that.
So would you say you tend to seek advice from people that will offer the contrary for you?
Yes.
That will actually, like, if you're only going to give bits and pieces, you're going to seek advice from people that will actually question you.
I do want to be. I've always loved being questioned, because so it's like the Socratic method, right? You never have a conversation. You have a conversation by asking questions. Well, why did you do this?
Right.
Okay, well, why did you do that? Until you get down to the root of why you ended up doing something. I'm all about that.
Hold on. This is like I don't know if it's off topic.
Say it anyway.
But A Lerma, I had to approve this one, Anita. But A Lerma says orgasms are a lie for many. Just saying work related. Now, I don't know what work related and orgasms have to do with each other, but we need like a specific sound for shit like this, because that's actually
Well, I mean,
true.
I think it's a statistical thing that a lot of women fake their orgasms.
Yeah.
A lot of women do.
And that's a lie to save humanity, to be honest with you. Because if you go 5 minutes or an hour, depending, I don't know what type of man you got.
5 minutes to an hour, right?
I don't know what type
such a broad spectrum.
Well, I don't. There's some guys that take forever. There's some dudes that
Too many
as soon as they feel it, they're done. The knees buckle as soon as the air touches it. But I say that because it's kind of true. Like, if you don't get to your spot, right?
Right.
And you have to lie to your man because you got to stroke his ego.
Yeah. Yes.
what do you think the reaction would be if he was like, "Oh, that shit was good, huh?" You're like, "Nah, not really. I didn't get to finish."
That's a really good.
Yeah, it'd be a nightmare after. I'm fucking depressed.
Hold on.
Feelings would be hurt.
Right. So you're saying that
So I'm not good?
Right. So you wouldn't tell your partner if something wasn't good.
You know what? Can that go both ways though, Natalie?
It should go both ways.
Like, damn, you couldn't even give me an orgasm because, like, I didn't even feel that good for you to stick around that long, or
I think it should be that casual. I think it should be that casual.
But our ego gets in the way.
I think
You know what I mean?
that's a way deeper conversation.
But it's a very real.
You obviously got to know your person, right? Like you got to know.
There's an entire documentary about this that Natalie and I.
Principles.
The pleasure
on
principles
Netflix.
about how.
Let's bring up this topic again for the next one.
Thank you, Anita.
Because
if you can be our expert on this too,
Yeah, because
we'd love to have you
starts, on. That could start from, like, before like the actual intercourse.
Having that conversation.
No. The process of having an orgasm can start before you even actually have the actual intercourse.
Oh, I thought you meant like if you sit down with the person before you even have sex and you're like, listen, don't do this.
Right.
Stick
Just
with
do this.
These are the things I like.
You know
be
what?
good right
though?
here.
We could find a middle ground.
I'm pretty sure there's people that be like, look, I don't like this, I don't like that, but if the motherfucker ain't listening,
Yeah.
now you gotta lie. Now you gotta lie to him because he don't listen.
See?
But again, it should go both. We should talk about those things. We live lies. We live in lies.
Damn, lies go deep. See, I didn't think
So deep,
at any point in this conversation about lies that I think we would get into the sexual.
But it is. And Anita, thank you for bringing that up because that's actually a super, super, super profound topic. And that goes. So, and this is why I didn't really touch a lot on this book, but she discusses a lot about the patriarchy behind why women lie, why men lie to women, and the discredit of women as a result of the benefits that men get.
Okay,
is very profound.
So now that we're in the realm of men and women, as a man, let me ask you, what would you want a man to lie to you about?
Oh, I already know.
And don't wait a minute.
I don't know.
Don't tell me your weight.
No.
Don't tell me that you can cook.
No.
Or like if your dishes are good or anything
Nope.
like that.
What would be lied to about?
Nope.
What would you want to be lied to about?
There's a whole song about it, and we started a podcast about it. We started like before we did, there's a whole song about it, and it's called "I Can Deal with That," and the song talks about like, all right, cool, you're my man, right? The girl's telling her dude, I understand that you're a man, and that you may have other needs and desires at certain times throughout your life. Cool. Go ahead. When you go and do whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better about yourself, don't ever make me feel like I was not the only one. Do whatever you got to do. Don't ever make me feel that I was not the only one. And don't ever let that shit come back to me. Don't ever let me find out. Be so slick with your shit.
But isn't that how you find out?
Yeah.
Because
The
What do you
truth
mean?
always comes out.
Hold on. No. So that's what she says. She tells him, as long as you do this, I can deal with that. And it goes back to that saying, ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente, eyes that don't see, heart that doesn't feel, right? I'm not an idiot. Like, we're all human beings. We're all going to have those desires for other people, other things, other opportunities, other experience. It happens, right?
Yeah.
Don't fucking tell me about it.
you know what?
Still
You know
make
what
me
that
feel like
actually
I'm number
reminds me
one.
of?
It's sick. I know it's sick.
That reminds me of the movie Ray.
Ray Charles?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
So you remember how his wife was like always down for him, did everything for him. The one that stuck around the longest.
Right.
She knew all the shit he was doing on the road.
Kind of like
and she told him the same thing, like don't
tell me.
Yeah, don't bring
do
that
your shit,
home.
but you be home.
Yeah.
Kind of like Martin Luther King and that is it Selma? Selma?
That's
Selma?
heartbreaking.
And then Stephen Hawking goes through something so similar too,
He
and that
had
was
game.
straight up.
He
That was
had
straight
game.
up like I'm done with you. I'm moving on to this next chick, and that is about being honest and real. and know when to like, all right, we're done here. I'm not playing.
My wife and I used to have these conversations because she used to ask. Again, we were together for a long time.
Oh, you're still together.
Oh, we're still together. Yes, thanks for correcting me. I don't know after saying that if I will be. But no, so that was always one thing she would ask though too. Like, hey, like you don't have to tell me everything, but I'm gonna know. Like I'm gonna know what's going on. You know,
you can't be slick with a woman, dude. Like you know.
But she also asked like, what was it? I just lost my train of thought real quick. Brain fart, yo.
She knows. She's gonna know when you're lying to her. She's gonna know when you're not being slick. Yeah, I agree. Like most people can't take honesty and self-sabotage.
They can't. But it's like, I don't know. I don't think. I don't see the point in cheating, right? So that was like the discussion we used to have. Now that I'm going back to it, and she's always asked me like, "Have you ever?" And this had nothing to do with us. Just because I'm a couple years older than my wife, and I've dabbled in experiences early on in life, and I told her that I've never seen a point in cheating. I've never seen the point in it.
I believe you.
Because if I'm tired of you, why would I want to continue to fight with you? If I'm already tired with you about what we're going through now,
it's a bond. It's an attachment.
Why the fuck? But
you have an attachment.
As a realistic person, why would I want to continue to? Now I'm just going to add more to the fight.
Yeah, because you have an attachment.
I don't. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, yeah, I can see that.
I don't. Like I've never. So that was her question. Have you ever cheated on anybody? No, because when I was done with somebody, I would let them know. If someone else, if I caught,
it's really that simple.
It is but because, and this goes back to why I'm saying like, I don't think you should pet people before you tell them the truth, because now
right. I get it.
You're saying that it's like, all right, I don't want to tell you I cheated. But I'm gonna just stroke your ego just a little bit. But then women know, because it's like little things like what you were referring to earlier, where it's like, don't tell me. I know you're gonna do it. Don't tell me. Mm-hmm. Don't ever make me feel less than all the other ones, right? But men, and don't shoot me, men. Men are dumb in this aspect of we just do a little bit too much
all the time.
Once shit becomes obvious is when we do too much.
Okay, I'm following you.
So, I have come to notice that women understand patterns.
Yes.
That's like your guys' biggest
indicator,
key.
red flags.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you start, like, you don't really pet my hair. You don't really rub my shoulder out of nowhere. You don't really, once you start
you don't really hug me like this and tell me I'm the best.
Yeah. Once you start doing a little bit more than what you usually do.
Right. Ding, 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 ding.
So would you accept that? Would you accept the extra cariño?
You know what's sad? Is that I have accepted that. And I'm sad to say that I would accept that, which is a part of my own. That sucks. I'm getting better at it, though. We're learning.
We are.
We're here to learn. Well, I think we've had a good show, Ray. I love the chat. It was deep.
It was deep.
It was deep.
But this is what On This Frequency is about, y'all.
It is. And Natalie had to make her exit because my nephew is hungry.
The little homie.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to go see him right now.
Little homie right there.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Next Friday, we'll be here again, 6 o'clock. And we look forward to it.
Yes.
Gracias. Gracias, gracias.
Vénganse, vénganse. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a llorar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a jugar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a cantar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a fumar hoy, hoy, hoy. Vamos a tomar hoy.